At least 3 laid-off Better employees said the company underpaid them by as much as $5,000 in severance pay. Digital mortgage lender Better faced a flood of public anger when it abruptly laid off 900 employees in December. Since then, some of the company's former employees contend they've been shortchanged on their severance for as much as $5,000. Lawyers said it'll be tough for them to win more money, but the uproar is just the latest misstep made by the once lauded company. 3 former employees told Insider that Better's apparent inclusion of unpaid weekends in the severance calculations effectively reduced their expected payments by as much as 20%, since there are only about 48 workdays in a 60-calendar day period. After initially pledging to provide 1 month of severance pay to the roughly 900 employees who were laid off via Zoom in early December, the company later upped the severance package to include 60 days of lost wages. Most employees and lawyers attribute the 30-day increase to the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, a federal regulation that mandates certain employers with more than 100 employees provide written notice of layoffs 60 days in advance. If a company doesn't give notice, it would have to pay its workers and maintain their benefits for 60 days, as if they were employed for that duration. Employees had expected that their severance payment would be for 60 working days, but found instead that their payout was for a 60-day period that included unpaid weekends. However, that doesn't automatically mean they were shortchanged. The Department of Labor, which administers the Federal WARN Act, states the payment period can cover 60 calendar days. Courts also have some room to interpret the appropriate duration of back pay. And while the inclusion of unpaid weekend days in the 60-day notice period mandated by the WARN Act is likely legal, the lack of transparency with which Better conducted its severance process has added further confusion to a tumultuous December for laid-off workers. While founder and CEO Vishal Garg has been pilloried for poor management and issues with his temper, legal experts told Insider that Better's handling of this issue will be difficult to challenge in court. Better did not respond to several requests from Insider for comment on this story. The way that this company went about it, I can't weigh in on whether or not they were in compliance with WARN, said Meredith Campbell, who leads the employment and labor practice at Shulman Rogers and represents companies and executives in employment cases. But I can tell you that if they ever want to hire employees again in the future, everyone is going to have some caution about getting involved with a company that treats their employees with so little compassion, she said. Within 8 days of the December 1st Zoom meeting where employees were let go and with class action attorneys mobilizing to take on the company over potential violations of the WARN Act, Garg announced the extension of the severance period. They knew they were in hot water, one former employee told Insider regarding the company's decision to extend the notice period. The former employee spoke with Insider on the condition of anonymity out of concerns for her relationships with colleagues still at the company. She said that when Better notified her and other employees of the new, longer severance package, the company did not indicate that unpaid days were included in the total. They said 60 days. They didn't say 2 months or 48 days. The former employee said. The discrepancy only came to light when the severance payment arrived in one lump sum via direct deposit on December 15th. A new line item on her pay stub which she shared with Insider indicated about $18,700 for notice pay, roughly $4,000 short of the figure she was expecting to see. Insider spoke with another former employee who worked for the company for 8 months and estimated her severance deposit on December 15th was short by about 12 hours worth of pay. In addition, her termination left her for months shy of vesting several $1,000s worth of Better shares. A third employee also told Insider his severance pay was short by about $100, or 10%, of what he had calculated based on working days, rather than calendar days. The way this was all done was just very unorganized, he said. There was zero personal interaction in regards to it. The WARN Act and similar state laws are meant to prepare employees and state unemployment agencies for mass layoff. There are some scenarios under which employers can seek exemptions, as many did in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic when businesses temporarily closed stores and furloughed staff during state and local shelter-in-place orders. But WARN laws are fundamentally about instituting a safety net during extraordinary layoffs, such as when a company is closing stores or facilities or going out of business, Campbell said. There's just a general responsibility to your employees and your people, she said. Worn rules can be difficult to enforce in practice, and it's usually up to workers and their attorneys to enforce it through civil lawsuits. Few plaintiffs' lawyers, who often work on a contingency basis, are willing to take on a case unless a large group of workers joins their claims in a class action lawsuit, attorneys said. Even then, recoveries for employees laid off without notice are limited to back pay for up to 60 calendar days, the value of benefits during that time, and, potentially, legal fees. Unlike in personal injury cases, for instance, there are no compensatory or punitive damages to be won for WARN Act claims. To even bring a suit, employees must not be subject to any forced arbitration clauses in their employment agreements, attorneys said. I think it's one of those laws that are on the books and are traditionally followed. And so for that reason, it serves a good purpose, said Linda Friedman, a founding partner of Stawell Friedman Ltd., who represents workers in civil rights cases. To me, the benefit of that law isn't the 60 days pay. It's the notice, she added, referring to payments being made after a layoff has already been announced and implemented. As Better did. What people were denied was the right to have time to adjust to losing their job, to be able to get a or some together, to be able to start interviewing, to be able to have no gap in their employment, to avoid being unemployed, Friedman said. And that was sort of the concept. If it works correctly, then you don't have people on the unemployed books because they had 60 days to find a new job. Beyond legal liability, employers must also consider the reputational fallout of breaking norms around acting in good faith, said Robert Sheridan, a partner at Nelson Mullins Riley Scarborough, LLP, who represents companies in employment issues. People are going to talk, employees are going to talk, and reputations in business are hard-won, he said. On December 10th, Better announced that Garg was taking time off effective immediately, as the company reeled from the blow back to the layoff. The CEO had previously been outed as posting disparaging comments about former employees on the online workplace forum Blind, claiming they were stealing from the company. Insider later reported that in conversations with top Better executives prior to the layoff, Garg had advocated for just 1 to 2 weeks of severance for staff who were let go, leading some execs to walk out of meetings on the issue. This is unfortunately not my first rodeo, the first of the 3 former employees said, explaining that earlier this year she had left another company to join Better, but that prior employer owed her back pay that she says she has received. I can't believe in going through this again, she said. Even though the 3rd employee feels shortchanged, he says he wants to see the company learn from the episode and grow. It sucks to get laid off, he said, but if it sucked for 900 people to lose their jobs, it would be even worse for 10,000 to lose theirs.